Hello, all. Welcome to our Wednesday live. Hopefully, volume is okay and everything. Welcome, welcome. It is a Cancer new moon today. So, have you set your intentions for this new moon? New moons are always about what you want to bring in for the next 6 months or so. And Cancer moons is all about nurturing yourself. So you really want to think of ways you want to be able to nurture yourself. And we might touch on this again a little bit more as more people join. So welcome, welcome. Hello, it's nice to have you here. And so last week we did kind of an open Q&A questions on kind of a wide range of spiritual topics. We talked about some astrology, we talked about galactic beings, we kind of talked, we did past lives and in between lives. And I know I had a lot of fun with that. And based on the interactions and everything, I think you all did as well. So I had wanted to mention the Cancer moon, which I had kind of already done. And then I have one other topic that I kind of want to talk about today. But then I thought I would kind of open it up again for questions, for kind of where do you guys want to go? What are you looking at? What are you looking to get out of these lives? So we'll do that. And if it's a shorter live today, that's fine. If we go a little bit longer like we did last week, that's fine. Kind of leaving it open, going with the flow, allowing to show that kind of real live example of when you're being in the flow versus having everything set up, everything controlled. That is one of the things I like about lives is we can kind of go in different directions. Welcome, welcome. So nice to see you. Okay, yes, where are you from? Texas, London. Excellent. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Well, as I mentioned with the Cancer new moon, it's about where you're nurturing yourself. So even during these lives, like figure out where you're nurturing yourself and what you can kind of do to increase things that nurture yourself. Maybe that's taking longer baths, maybe that's taking a longer shower, maybe it's being in nature. I'm a huge nature person, you guys, and so I will always recommend to be in nature if you feel you need to nourish yourself. So where are you guys all coming from? Hello, welcome, nice to see you, or at least know that there's some comments coming in as far as people. All right, welcome. Hello, hello. We're just getting started with the live. And one of the things that I thought would be kind of fun to start with would be to pull a major arcana from the tarot. And actually 2 cards fell out, so you guys get a bonus, you get 2. All right, so the first card is the Hermit, and it's Virgo. And I'm doing good tonight. How are you guys doing? Hello, welcome. Virgo is a great card to talk about nurturing because it really does encourage you to nurture and nourish yourself. Good, glad you guys are doing good tonight. and how are you feeling? You know, there's still kind of all this like massive energy, and the Hermit is asking us to connect with all the energy we're feeling and saying, what can we process? What can we get rid of? What can we keep? So, hello, where are you all from? So nice to see all of you guys. I mentioned a little earlier that last week we had a really fun session of just kind of asking a whole bunch of questions you guys had and just kind of going from there. So if you have any spiritual questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat. I don't do a lot of political current event ones. That said, I will kind of talk about a little bit what's going on, but I am really conscientious of that I have people on my channel in all different political belief systems, and so I really try to honor where everyone is at, so I don't go usually too deep into the politics of current day. Hello, welcome. So nice to see all of you. Okay, so we've got the Hermit as one of our cards, and I love this card. The other card is the Fool, and it is ruled by Uranus. And Uranus is in the last degree, or almost last degrees, of Taurus, of wanting to figure out kind of where you're not free in your beliefs, in your values, in your money. And then it's going to move on the 7th of July into Gemini. And it's gonna ask you, where are you not free in your communication with yourself or others? Oh, so how do you know which card is good? That's a great question. So I actually don't do a lot of saying cards are good or bad per se. Like even the Death card, for me, they all have a message for you. And so like when you think of like the 3 bad cards in Tarot, they're usually Death, the Devil, and the Tower. And even how I look at those is the Death card is all about transformation and change. The Devil is saying, hey, where are you kind of stuck in your old belief systems? And then the Tower is saying, hey, you weren't paying attention and we need you to move into something else. So it's going to be a surprise, and it's probably not going to be, a beautiful unicorn surprise. It's going to be a rougher surprise. And so that said, like with the Fool, coming into where we are, like with astrology, this is just more of a fun card for this particular one, saying, yes, like we're going to move into something new. And the Fool always brings new beginnings, new starts for us. So does that help kind of answer some of your questions on the cards? And I only pulled from the majors. And if you're not really familiar with Tarot, there is, in most traditional Tarot decks, there is 21, 22 majors, and then there is the minor arcana that can give us more insight. But a lot of times I find, especially like for these lives or even some of my weeklies, that just pulling from the majors gives you kind of a bigger overall picture to kind of help you. And so both of these cards that I had pulled for tonight, so this is the Hermit and then the Fool, is kind of asking you to kind of go within a little bit and saying, what is it that you need to nurture yourself? And that new journey. Maybe, you know, it's taking that time. Maybe it's setting that boundary that you may not have set before. So, excellent. What other questions do you have? I mentioned last week that we went all over from galactic beings to past lives to tarot to astrology. So what other questions do you have? It's really, really nice. It was raining all day today, and I finally have the window open, so it's a little windy. But what other things do you want to know about? And as you guys are thinking about questions or anything, the other thing I had wanted to mention today was timelines and timeline jumps. And I don't know how familiar you are with those, but it's a topic that has been coming up in a lot of channels, saying, hey, we're jumping timelines today. Oh, we're gonna have, you know, a couple timeline jumps. And if you don't exactly know what they are, they can kind of seem like they're a little confusing. So a timeline jump is, oh, okay. And we can get into a little bit of that. I don't want to go too deep into all the cards, but we can certainly look at some of the other card meanings. Sure. But let me just finish the timeline real quick. Timelines we have an infinite number of timelines that we are in. And so if you make a choice to stay in a relationship, that's a timeline. If you make a decision to leave a relationship, that's a new timeline. If you get a new job, that's a new timeline. If you decide to stay in a current job, that's a new timeline. So really, you're creating your new timelines every day by just living your life. But then sometimes we have more collective ones too. And a lot of times when you're hearing other channels and other readers talk about the timelines, that is what they're talking about in a lot of ways, is the more collective, the more people. So a question was what do other cards mean? And so I will go through them kind of quickly for you. And again, these are the majors. But so like here is the Tower card. And this one was that where it's that sudden change. And it's not necessarily going to be easy sudden change. In most decks, it is a tower on fire. And so it's definitely sudden change for you. The Star is a beautiful card about hope and healing and just really kind of the best of yourself, the best of humanity. Always a beautiful card to get in a reading. Temperance is about balance. Where do you have, one foot? A lot of times you'll see the traditional depiction of this card is with a woman with 1 foot on earth and 1 foot in the water. So where are you balancing in your life is what the Temperance card asks a lot of us for. The Empress is about fertility and healing in a lot of ways and showing up for that divine feminine for you. And we just had a question about what do other cards mean, so I'm just kind of running them through the majors really quick. The Wheel of Fortune talks to us about our lives are constantly changing. Sometimes we are on the top of the wheel and we are feeling really, really good. Sometimes we are at the bottom of the wheel and we can feel kind of depressed or things aren't going our way. And then you've got all the movement in between that wheel to really kind of say, oh, it is the cycle. We are moving through different cycles. And that is a really important piece right now, especially as we are going through all these turbulent times. Remember, we are in a cycle. Even though it feels like it can be a really long cycle, we are in a cycle. It will change. It will get better. We just don't know why. Or when, I should say. Not why, no when. And hello, welcome to the new people. We're just going through some of the quick major tarot here. The Hierophant is, in most decks, is depicted as the Pope or as a spiritual figure. And it really talks to us about those traditions and sometimes structures like religion, like government sometimes can be the Hierophant, all those structures that have been in place that in some ways we don't even pay attention to because they're just always there. The Chariot is about movement and moving things forward. Sometimes not in the way you expect them to move forward, but forward movement nevertheless. And the Moon, I love the Moon card. It's can be also about revealing what is hidden. It can be about your connecting to your intuition and really allowing yourself to kind of go with the flow. And especially with it being in the Cancer new moon, that's a really good card for this time right now, is with the Moon. The Strength card is all about connecting to your inner strength. We all have inner strength, and we've been told to push it aside, to not trust our intuition. And the Strength card always asks you to come back to trusting yourself. You are stronger than you realize. The Judgment card. A lot of times this card will show up when you are feeling like you are being judged by others, or you are judging others and their actions and reactions. So this is kind of a call out card to say, hey, are you really doing the best for you and for others if you're coming from a place of judgment? The World card is, it can be read kind of two ways. One is, you know, with the world, with the completion of like a cycle, and it also can be the accumulation of a project that you've been working really hard toward. So that's with the World card. And hello to the new people that just joined. I'm opening it up to questions today. So if you have questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat. And one of the questions was, what are kind of the major arcana? So I'm just going through these really quick. And we've got the Justice card. This is also another card about balance, but this can also be about justice in law, justice feeling in your life where you feel that kind of balance. Again, and this is a similar card to Temperance in some ways. The Magician is one of my favorite cards. When you read it for yourself, it really talks about what you are creating and what you're bringing into your life. Now, depending on the reading, depending on how you're reading it for, and especially a lot of times with the collective readings right now, the Magician is talking about illusion and creating illusion, creating false things as the more modern magician. So it really kind of depends on the reading that you're doing for this card. But personally, I love this card when it shows up in personal readings. The Lover's card is actually about choices versus, it can be about a romantic partnership, but a lot of times it is about, you've got a choice here and a choice here. Which one are you going to take? And this is asking you to connect with your heart. What is really connecting for you in your heart? And that is for this one. The High Priestess is a card of wisdom and intuition. And the High Priestess in most traditional decks it shows like a black pillar and a white pillar and then like a woman in between. And it's asking us to let go of the rigidity of it's either this way or that way. This is right, this is wrong. And instead, the High Priestess is saying, most of our wisdom, and my dog is playing with a dog toy right now, if you can hear the squeaking in the background. It's asking us to be in the in-between instead, because that is truly where a lot of our wisdom comes from, by acknowledging the extreme over here, acknowledging the extreme over here, and saying, hey, where is kind of the middle ground of this? Because that's where the richness is. That's where life happens in a lot of ways, is in that middle ground of the High Priestess. The Devil card, this is one of the other cards that I mentioned, is considered a lot of times a bad card. But it's really asking you, what beliefs are you chained to? What values that may not serve you anymore are you still connected to? You're still afraid to move forward. So there's that one. And there's a pup sighting. The Emperor is the divine masculine card. The leader with the compassion, the leader who is strong and powerful and still allowing that compassion, that kindness to show through. The Sun card is, where are you shining brightly? Or conversely, depending on what the reading is, where are you not shining brightly? This is truly asking you to step up, be seen when you get the Sun card. The other thing it is it can also be about exposure of truths that are coming to the surface. And the Hanged Man, which is actually a very interesting depiction in this particular deck, is normally hanging by his foot on a tree, and it's asking you to have a different perspective. When you look at something hanging from a tree, you're looking at the world differently. You're looking at your situation differently. The other thing that a lot of times the hangman will talk to you about is, in addition to looking at things from a different perspective, is slow down, pause, wait until you see kind of what's going on before you take action. And the last card is the other card that we talked about, is the Death card. And in a lot of decks, it is, a really dark depiction. And when I choose tarot decks, I do look at the Death card to see what their depiction is. And this one, and I know it's super hard to see on camera, but this is talking about a phoenix rising. And that's one of the reasons I actually really like the Death card, is because it's talking to us about that cycle of death, rebirth, and hope. And that really is kind of where we are with our personal lives right now, with so much stuff going on, and certainly in the collective, to kind of always keep that perspective of, we are going through massive amounts of transformation right now. So those are a really quick rundown of the majors for you. Additional questions on Tarot for you. And I mean, there's a ton of like deeper stuff with the Tarot, but that's kind of the quick overview of the major arcana. And when we talk about major arcana, it just is usually more powerful and more impactful than the minors of the Tarot. So, what other questions do you have? And so one of the things I try to do in my weekly readings for you, and I apologize, I have not gotten the weekly reading out this week, but I do look at the transiting moons because it really does kind of help give you kind of a quick energy check-in with how the day is going to go. With a new moon in Cancer, you're going to want to feel more nurturing to yourself, and you want to probably do things at home that make you feel good. This isn't necessarily the time that you want to go out with a big group of people and, have a big dinner party. You're going to be much more comfortable to just kind of stay home, kind of relax, kind of do that stuff. And so we have the Cancer moon today and tomorrow. And then the 27th and 28th, we actually move into a Leo moon. Leo wants to be seen, but Leo wants to come from the heart. So really think about where you're showing up from a heart perspective versus well, I should be doing this, or I think I've got to do that. Leo wants to be like, what it feels right for you, what feels right for when you're showing up. So that is the Leo moon. And so some people track it every day. I tend to have a rough idea of what the moons are every day. I find it's really helpful in my life. And some people are just like, I just want to know about the new moon and the full moon. And some people are like, I don't care about any of it. So whatever feels right to you. That's one thing I really want to convey is when we're looking at all the spiritual stuff, whether, it's tarot decks, whether it's oracle decks, whether it is astrology, whether it's, talking about past lives, any of that, what feels right to you. There is such a range out there that it's really easy to kind of get overwhelmed by it all, and always come back to what feels right to you. Like I really enjoy reading tarot. I've read tarot for years. And I also like oracle, but then there's some tarot decks that I just don't even resonate with. So it's really important that you resonate with whatever part of spirituality or the tool you're using. Tarot decks, oracle decks, pendulums, those are all tools. So it's just really important that you resonate with what you are bringing into your life or you're learning about. And I always love learning new things with spirituality, with metaphysics. And I just, again, I figure out what works for me and what doesn't. And my hope with some of these lives is that I can expose you to new things or let you go deeper into something to explore that you may not have been exposed to before. And you're like, hey, I'm kind of curious about that. So that is what I've got today. Any other questions? And thank you for the great questions today. All right. Well, I think that is going to conclude our live for this week. And I always end all of either my lives or my pre-recorded videos with making sure you give yourself a self-hug. Talk about something that can nurture yourself and nourish yourself during a Cancer moon. When you first start kind of doing a self-hug, it might kind of feel awkward, but the more you do it, it is very calming for you. And you also have a private side and a public side. That's why I always kind of do both. And that really, both kind of need that extra nourishment, that extra nurturing that you can provide yourself. And we're not usually taught to nurture and nourish ourselves. It's always directed outwards to other people. So make sure you take the time to do that for yourself. And I will catch you either on a pre-recorded video or on my next live. I always come live on Wednesdays, or as much as I can, I should say, on Wednesdays on 7 p.m. Central Time. And if you enjoyed the content, if you would subscribe to the channel, that would be great. And then you'll know when we're going live or when other new videos are posted. And I will see you later. Bye.